Hey everyone, I'm Brian Bates, and I trust Google Maps without questioning it.
West on.
I'm Linda DeYoung, and I unironically use the Kahoot music at parties.
And this is the One-to-One podcast, brought to you by the Learning Technology Center. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the One-to-One podcast. Today's topic focuses on our tech directors and leaders. Often this role is done by just one person, which means that they're having to navigate it all alone. We're going to take a look at the positive benefits of mentorship for tech directors. Linda, you were close with your tech team when you were a teacher, so can you tell me a little bit about what that was like?
Yeah, I was very close with my tech team when I was a teacher. It was 3 individuals, and they were, just always fixing things, always duct taping systems together. They had invented whole ways of making this work in this room, and this switch would, turn on here. And, I was close to them also in a sense because whenever they would get new tech in, they'd be like, "Hey, Linda, we know that you don't mind pushing buttons until you break something. So why don't you take this in your classroom and try it out and tell us if it works, tell us if it breaks, tell us the cool things that it does, and that'll help us make some decisions." And so I was kind of their guinea pig for a lot of things too, but I'm a huge fan and was very close with my IT team at my school. So kudos to all the IT directors out there. You guys are doing incredible work. And yeah, what about you, Brian? What's your experience?
So I had the privilege of working in a couple different districts when I was in the class, when I was a classroom teacher. And I worked in a district that had a single tech director.
Yeah.
That person covered the entire district's technology supports and all that kind of stuff. I think they maybe at times had a high school student helper at best.
Yeah.
And then I worked in a district that was larger and had a team of, I want to say 5 different individuals, and they all kind of had their own specialized parts of what they were working on, whether it was working on the devices themselves, whether it was supporting educators with the SIS systems and things like that. So it's really interesting to see kind of both perspectives there, and it gives you a better understanding of how much goes into making sure a classroom runs smoothly with technology. And then you have to think about the fact that, every classroom is using technology to some extent, and
Yep.
different technology that's being used, whether it's the technology at the elementary school is different than the middle school and the high school. And all those different things have to come together and work together smoothly. And, one small blip can make a huge difference and can really disrupt the entire day. And so as a teacher who relied a lot on technology, you started to see how stressful that can be and how hard that it can be to be in that role. And so, yeah, I have a lot of respect for the work that tech directors do, and really appreciate all that they provide for their students, because at the end of the day, we couldn't teach with technology if they didn't set us up with the devices and the software and the network to do that.
It's so true. If anybody from my prior district, any of my tech directors are listening, I just want to extend a huge thank you to you for all the times that I called you up to my room and said, "This is broken. Can you fix it?" So thank you so much. You know who you are if you're listening.
Yeah, I would echo the same thing. So, hey, I wanted to jump into news you can use, if that's all right.
Yeah, what do you got for me today?
All right. Well, if you're new to the program, news you can use is a segment that we take a look at some of the most recent headlines that put today's topic into perspective. Something that made us pause and say, "Huh, that's interesting," or just anything else that's tech related. So before I start, Linda, with the news that I have kind of been pondering over, I want to ask you a question. In terms of social media, how do you describe your use? Are you an active user? Are you kind of a lurker? Are you off the grid? What's your, how do you interact with social media, I guess? And then what's your go-to platform if you do?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. It's so unique for every person. So I would say that I am mostly a lurker on most platforms, but I also am someone who has all my notifications turned off for social medias. I think that for me, I want to have a healthier relationship with social media, and that means that I'm kind of disconnected from them more than probably like the average person is.
Mhm.
Most of the time, I'm a lurker. There are a few that I'm an active user on. I would say that my go-to is at this point probably Blue Sky, which is kind of weird because it's the new kid on the block. It has not been around for very long, but it's sort of a replacement for Twitter and now X. And I really enjoy Blue Sky. I like the community on there. I do some art stuff. I just am in a number of communities. I'm an active user in Discord. And I would say I use Reddit a lot for searching, for finding answers. Like it feels sometimes like Reddit's better than a Google search. So but I'm involved in all the social medias, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. It's just I lurk more on those more than anything else. What about you?
I would say I probably lean into the lurking aspect more than anything. I have the basics, the ones everybody else has. I've got the Facebook because that's like the family photo album essentially.
Yep.
Keeping up with family. And you also can't get away from the small businesses and restaurants that have like Facebook only pages. Like I kind of had to get back on Facebook because, and I think that's a great option for businesses. But if I want to see a menu, I have to go to their Facebook page and have an account. So, but I like, I can't get away from Twitter because that just seems to be the spot where, as a sports person, that's where I get the majority of my sports news, I guess, so to speak, and what's going on, breaking news and things. I love Instagram and TikTok both for inspiration for cooking. That's where I just follow a ton of people who do really cool recipes and really cool things in the kitchen because that's what I love to do. And it's really funny because you mentioned Discord. That's one that I didn't really consider at first, but I have a Discord group with some friends of mine because the whole thing was we had a text thread going and everybody responded to different things at different times. And finally somebody was like, stop. I have no idea what anybody's talking about. You're replying to something that I said 2 days ago, but yet I asked this question. Now this person's going, and so we're like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to open up Discord and we're going to break it down into channels. So if you want to talk about this topic, go here. And it's kind of nice to do it that way. Better than a group chat. So
That's actually a great use case for Discord. I never thought about using it for group chatting like that. I'm involved in like more of like big fan communities on
mhm.
Discord, but that's actually a really good use case. I'll have to tuck that away for later, Brian.
Yeah, it made communicating with my group of friends a lot easier. And it's easier to follow along with that stuff. I bring all this up because the news that I kind of came across that made me pause and say, "Huh, that's interesting." Was I came across an article that was published on Reuters, and basically it was discussing the December 2025 ban that Australia put into place. It was legislation that came through in 2024, but it actually became law and started being enacted in December of 2025. But Australia is the first country that's blocked social media use for any user under the age of 16. And it's really interesting because proponents of the ban see it as a way for battling kids' addiction to the devices. I know that cell phone bans is a huge issue in our schools, and social media is a main concern when it comes to bullying, when it comes to just the use of cell phones during school. It also talks about the rising mental health concerns as a result of social media and a lot of other things. There's also opposition that say the ban's going to increase isolation among marginalized youth. It's an overstep of governmental reach, which that's another thing that people have a problem with when it comes to the social media ban. And the other thing that they mentioned is that a lot of kids are going to find a way that if they're under the age of 18 to get around the ban. So it just was interesting to read about this ban that's now taking place in Australia. And I'm just kind of curious, what are your thoughts on banning social media for students or for anyone under the age of 16? Is this something you could like, or is this something you'd have to unfollow?
This is such an interesting topic, and I feel bad because I feel like I'm going to be such a middle of the road person on this, and not give like a strong answer. Because on one hand, I do think that exposure to social media at a young age can be really detrimental for a lot of kids, and it's detrimental for them in a way where they don't even realize what's happening to them at the time because they're just young, they're just accessing devices, and they're kind of falling into social media pitfalls without the cognitive ability to wade through that
Mhm.
in the same way that like adults do, right? Like adults, and even adults struggle with that. But at least they have the cognitive ability to say, this is not good for me. I need to be on this less. I need to step away. I need to unfollow these people or block these people in a way that kids don't necessarily know how to do. And so, on that sense, I'm like, maybe this is a good thing just to manage some of that social media anxiety and bullying and issues that come with that. But on the other hand, raises major issues for things like censorship and privacy. Like, how are they going to confirm that someone is 16 or older? Are they going to ask for identifying information? Where is that data being kept? Who has access to that data? Do I have to upload a picture of my ID? And now everyone has my government ID on a server. Where is that located? So I think it's a lot of complex kinds of social issues, issues around privacy. Um, and yeah, I understand kind of both sides there. I don't know quite what the answer might be.
Yeah, I find myself in a similar situation, though I think I probably lean a little bit more towards uh, the like button when
Mhm.
it comes to the ban. I feel like there are more positives outcomes to the ban than there are negative, maybe.
Mhm.
But I also would like to see a way that we can. I understand what you're saying about the idea of being exposed to what social media is and how to use it, and how like there is a ton of good for social media. Like, when I think oftentimes there's like sporting events where there's a kid who something happens to him in the stands, whether they get knocked down or they get hit by a foul ball, and hey, an athlete jumps on and says, "Hey, help me find that kid. I want to give him an autographed jersey or something," as a way of like there's good things. People set up GoFundMe's when they see people in need. Like there are incredibly great ways to use social media, and there's also careers revolving around social media. So like maybe as a 12-year-old, you start
Mhm.
finding ways to um, you know do graphic design, and that's how you're getting your work out there. It just seems like there's so many bad things that can result from social media, and I think that
Yeah.
like I like the idea of possibly having ways to do more filters to I think that for the most part social media does pretty decent at blocking the majority of explicitly bad stuff.
Mhm.
um, but if it could do better at blocking out the moderately bad stuff, then I think that would be better. um, and this isn't something that is new to Australia. They're the only people that are even considering this. There's been conversations in the United States about it, but
Mhm.
um, Australia is the first country that actually flat out banned the social media for children under 16. Other countries have their own way of dealing with social media. Also, like I was interested to read in this article that China has a minor mode that
Mhm.
enables device specific restrictions. So it's not necessarily app specific, but it's device specific restrictions of what they're able to do, not do, see, not see, download, that kind of stuff. France requires parental consent for youth under 15, so they're kind of in the same ballpark age wise. And then there's many other countries right now that are considering or have already put into place stricter age limits for creating accounts. Like the UK right now is looking at what Australia has done and considering that as well.
Mhm.
So I guess we've talked a little bit about the positives and negatives that can happen as a result of a ban. Do you think that there is an age where social media use becomes not just acceptable but safe? Like we've talked that
Mhm.
13 is kind of like the standard of what a social media thing says. Hey, you have to be 13, based on laws in the United States. Some countries are saying 15 or 16. What are your thoughts on an age where it becomes not, like I said, not just acceptable but safe to use?
Oh, hard to say. I feel like one piece of this that is important is that these are decisions that in some ways need to be also made with parents and what parents think is best for their specific child. But we also know that that's not always something that is at the forefront of
Mhm.
caregivers' minds.
Yeah.
Is, especially if caregivers themselves are not aware of the technology and not aware of what the social medias are in the first place or how to navigate them, they might not even know that their kid is on Discord, and that they might even not know what Discord is, right? Like, what is that? But there's a lot of shenanigans that you can get up to in Discord that aren't necessarily child friendly.
Very true.
So, like, are the parents aware of what the social medias are? Are they aware of what their kids are using? And how can we make that a more simple process? How can the people who design apps, design social media, make that a simpler process for parents to access what their kids are viewing, and also, limit what they view as being acceptable for their kids or not? Because one kid might handle social media very well at 13 and has a good balance between the real world and their online identity. They know when to step away. Another kid, they might struggle with that all the way up to 18, 19,
Mhm.
20. We see adults even now struggling in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, struggling with acceptable social media use. And so I think it's hard to pinpoint an age, but I do think that it's something that at least should be more at the forefront of parents and also of like society as a whole to talk about these issues and to talk about best use cases.
I'm glad you said that about the adults thing, because my honest response to this was going to say there is no age, because I guarantee you could take every single age from 1 to 100, and you could, well, maybe one is a little bit of an outlier there, but anybody from the age of 13, because of course nobody's on social media under the age of 13, right?
Of
All
course.
the way up to 100 years old, and you can find somebody who has no business being on there because they can't use it safely and appropriately. So
Mhm.
like that's the hard part, I think, is like, you try to start to put a specific number on who is ready for and can use this this version of technology safely and appropriately. And it reminds me of, like, it makes me think also of the conversation around cell phone bans and device ban and things like that. Is it's like, well, at the end of the day, we should be helping students understand how to use and how to moderate and how to monitor their cell phone usage. Like, it's not necessarily our job, like, to teach it during the class, but like that's part of society as a whole. We should be able to model appropriate use of a cell phone, not having it on 24/7, not all those types of things. Same with a computer. We talk about this in the classroom. Is there are situations where in an instructional setting, a laptop may not be the best tool for that instructional purpose.
Yeah.
It's okay. And like, how do we teach? It's just another part of, as you were mentioning, the societal thing is understanding the moderation of use and appropriate use. And if we can teach kids that and they're able to use it at the age of 12, I'm sure that that their kids more than capable of doing that. And then at the same time, we can also teach them and try to help model things as best we possibly can. And they're going to be 25, 30 years old, still making terrible decisions on social media. So like,
Totally.
I don't know if there is a good number, but I just thought this was really interesting to think about the ban and the age limits and how that works. So, well, thanks for playing along there and having that conversation. And if you, the listener, are interested in reading an article for yourself, we've linked it in the show notes, so you can just click on it there and start investigating that piece too.
Well, today, let's get into our interview. So, we're actually joined by multiple guests. First, we're going to talk to Justin Morgan, who is the LTC's IT strategy manager and overseer of the Technology Leader Mentor program. So, he's going to share his own experience as a tech director. And then, actually, he was a mentor with the program. And finally, he moved into his current role where he supports all the mentors and mentees in the LTC's program. So, he's kind of had an interesting journey between tech director to mentor to overseeing the program. And then we're going to skip over and talk to some current and alumni mentees about their experiences with tech mentorship. And Again, like I said at the beginning of this episode, I'm really excited to highlight tech directors. They are really unsung heroes in the school systems. So without further ado, let's get into our interviews.
Justin is an IT strategy manager with the Learning Technology Center, where he partners with Illinois school districts to strengthen and support their technology infrastructure. He currently leads the LTC Technology Leader Mentor Program, connecting tech directors with experienced peers for real-world guidance, planning, and reflection. With more than a decade of experience in educational technology, much of it spent as a technology director and network administrator in Southern Illinois, Justin brings a grounded, practical perspective to the challenges that schools face. Welcome, Justin. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being a part of this today. I'm just going to dive right in, Justin, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
When you first started out as a tech director, you didn't have a mentor. You were a department of one, like many tech directors are out there. So thinking back to your experience as a tech director, especially a new tech director, can you think of a time and share a moment of like maybe crisis or a specific decision you were faced with that you realized, man, this would really help if I had somebody I could talk to right now. If I had a mentor that I could get questions from, whatever. What was that situation and what was it like trying to navigate that alone?
Yeah, great question. So when I onboarded with the district, I knew I needed to do a redesign and overhaul the network and the equipment. It was pretty old and really wasn't designed for future development. And I had that skill set to do that via college and other jobs. What I didn't have is the understanding of how K-12 environments function a little differently than other industries. No other industry that I know of are we protecting kids from kindergarten to 12th grade, so that the considerations there are pretty big. So having a mentor would have saved me some time, and I could have learned some lessons before I had to learn those the hard way, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I know as like a young teacher myself, right? We had a mentor that kind of followed us and made sure that we were doing okay in the classroom. And that was a huge asset to me because when things got sticky or when I was confused about something, I had someone to go to. And I know that that isn't the case for all teachers, even. Not all teachers are provided with a mentor. And definitely not the case necessarily with all tech directors or people in those like tech leadership positions.
Sure.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, Linda. Like I mentioned at the beginning of that kind of question there is that a department of one, and you're talking about being like a first year, let's say you're a first year teacher, you might not necessarily have a mentor, so to speak, an official one, but you've got a building that is full of other people who do what you do. And so at least we have that opportunity to talk to those other people, even if it's informally. And so like, I can see how being a tech director, especially if you're in one of those districts that's you're the only person, that could be an even bigger challenge.
Yeah, I will have to say I was blessed with being able to pick up the phone and call the old tech director on some things. But when you start redesigning the network and replacing equipment, then that person doesn't have a whole lot that they can help you with. But they could, and I tried not to bug them. They had retired, and so it was only when I really needed some help, and they always were nice enough to pick up the phone and help me out where they could.
Awesome.
Well, Justin, fast forward a few years, you served actually as a mentor in our Tech Leader Mentor program while you were still working as a tech director yourself. And I'm wondering maybe what's one unexpected or challenging situation that you had a mentee bring to you? And what was that like working through that with your mentee?
Yeah. So I remember I had a mentee that we were working through the challenges of connecting with his administration and other coworkers in his department and teachers and that sort of thing. This individual had great technical skills to handle the issues from the day-to-day job of being a tech director, but really kind of struggled in building those relationships with those coworkers. So we worked on strategies, either written and verbal, of how to kind of cultivate those relationships and really work on getting that bond.
Mm.
Well, you mentioned the building relationships and cultivating relationships. In that situation, you're talking about the relationship between your mentee and the other people that they're working with in their district. But I'm kind of curious about the relationship that happens between a mentor and a mentee. So do you have any particular story or any moment that kind of happened when you were at any point in this process of the mentorship program where you realized that, like, hey, this is really working, this really clicked, and or something that was like a breakthrough moment that proved that what you're doing and the relationship you have with that mentee or mentor worked and was working?
Yeah. So I remember the first time, all the meetings that I had with my mentors or my mentees, we sat down and we talked about management strategies of a lot of times in the IT department, the phone's ringing off the hook, the emails going crazy, people are walking in your door, and everything's a 5-alarm fire for them. But you have to be able to strategize what is more important, and rank those of how that issue is affecting the most people and which one do we have to deal with first. And so I was going over those strategies with a mentee, and so we were working on those. And the next time we met, that mentee had told me, hey, these strategies that you showed me of how to do this are so simple, but I took them and I used them, and it has made such an impact. So that was definitely one that stood out for me.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things, where sometimes a really simple strategy is actually very effective, but you don't know what you don't know. And when you're new to a role, it can be very hard to even grasp those like simple strategies because you just don't even know where to start at times. And so I think that resonates for me as well. And I think resonates for a lot of people working in education, where you pick up like a tip from one person and it just works so exceptionally well that you can't even believe that it's working as well as it is. And you're just thinking, gosh, why did I not think of this myself? But it's that like connection between yourself, your colleagues, your mentor, hopefully, that like provides that spark for getting those strategies.
Yeah.
So Justin, if you had to sum up your mentorship philosophy in like one phrase or one sentence or one paragraph, one of your core beliefs when it comes to mentorship, I want to know, what would that be? And how did that continue to shape the way that you interacted with and showed up for your mentees?
Yeah. So for me, it's no person is better than the next. We all come with different skills and different life experiences, and that's what really makes us unique. So for me, that core principle of I'm not better than this next person, or that person's not better than the other one, really shaped the way that I approached the mentees. And I tried to meet them where they were at, because we're all in different spots in our life journey, even professional journey. And then we started meeting them where they were at and building those leadership skills from there and moving them forward to set them up for success.
Well, thanks, Justin, for sharing your experience. We're going to circle back with you a little bit later in this episode. But first, I want to go ahead and shift the spotlight over to hear directly from the people on the other side of mentorship. And we're going to check in with some of the mentees that are in the LTC mentor program. So we'll see you in just a little bit.
And we are joined now by Ryan Alrueli. Ryan has spent 8 years in education technology. He began his career in 2017 as an information systems technician, serving that district for 8 years before accepting his current role as technology director for the Salt Fork district. Ryan participated in this year's cohort in the LTC Technology Leader Mentor Program. Ryan, welcome to our episode.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, Ryan. We are so excited to talk to some of the people who have been through the mentorship program, through the LTC, and just talk about your experiences. But before we get into that, I'd love to know a little bit more about you and your role as a tech director. Could you tell us maybe one thing that you do on a daily basis as a tech director to support your teachers?
I would say a lot of the time it's just response. I would say if we're going to name one thing, just make sure I'm responsive. So I would say one thing I'm doing is just looking at everything, listening, walking around the hallways, making sure everyone's okay. So I would say responding to things like that would be one of the things I do every day. And then let's see.
And that seems like something that would be very time consuming, because it sounds like, oh, responding to things is, oh, that's pretty simple, right? But I'm sure that when you have a buildings that have multiple teachers doing multiple things, there's a lot of things to be monitoring and watching and supporting.
Right. So I'm always watching email and the ticket system. And even if I can't get to something immediately, I just like to respond to let them know, hey, I can't get this right now, but it is on my mind and I'm not leaving you alone to hang out and dry,
Mm-hmm.
I do. What are some other things that you do in your role as tech director? Like, walk me through kind of some of your daily things.
Well, as a tech director, I wear a lot of hats here, especially for a smaller school district. Just basically, I'm the tech integration specialist. I'm the project manager. I'm in charge I'm the data privacy officer. I'm just everything. So I would say a lot of those aspects of the role is what I would do on a daily basis.
Well, it's funny you mentioned like wearing a lot of hats, and because that kind of leads us into another thing we want to talk about is like, tech directors, especially like you're mentioning being in a small school district. A lot of times tech directors are a team of one,
Right.
Or it's a very, very small team. What are some challenges that you have faced that made you realize that, you maybe needed some guidance, and how did you find your mentor?
Well, first thing that made me realize I needed guidance was I actually got this position and I'm a new technology director for the first time. I'm like, well, obviously I can't know everything.
Yeah.
The assistance I can take or get, I'm gonna take. And so for the mentorship, actually, how I found out about it is my superintendent received some information about it. He just shot it over to me in an email. I was like, would this interest you at all? I looked it over. I was like, yes, please. Anything that can help me right now. And so that's how I got started. And that's how I met my mentor and how we've been going through everything. And it's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, when I was, working as a teacher, my tech team was 3 people. And I remember how much they would rely and lean on each other. But when you are a person of one, that can be very difficult because it's like,
I'm lucky enough. I do have a network administrator at the other campus who has
good.
been very helpful to me, and I couldn't do anything without him. So I'm fortunate enough to at least have one other member on my team.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah. I feel like when you have someone that you can turn to and get that guidance, it does help with some of those challenges that you're experiencing. And I would love to hear about maybe, because mentorship can feel really abstract. Like, what does that exactly mean? What does mentorship look like? Why would I need a mentor? I would love to hear about, a way that your mentor has helped you succeed and maybe some of the challenges that you've worked through that were made easier and, less friction because you had a mentor.
The first thing I was able to do for the real world experiences is any challenges I got brought up as a new tech director, I was able to just go ahead and discuss during those mentorship meetings with somebody who'd had real world experiences and has solved those issues and things. So like, for instance, I'm coming in as a new tech director. That was the first time I heard about E-rate. I didn't have to worry about that as a regular technician. I just put the equipment there. So I got to talk to my mentor about E-rate, and he explained all that into detail, and he was able to also give me resources that I could use to help myself with E-rate. And I also had some other projects, like I installed a new point-to-point system, and I was worried about the grounding for the electrical and stuff. And he was able to give me advice on that as well. So he has helped me with actual real world projects and things I've been working on here.
That's great. Yeah. And I feel like Linda was saying, that feels like, oh, okay, mentorship. What does mentorship mean? And it's great when you can just be like, this is what I've got going on. Have you done this before? And what help can you give me? And so it was
great. I love that aspect of it. And the fact that I could throughout the week write a list of this came up. Oh, this situation came up. Do you have any advice for this situation? And then I was able to just walk through those in mentorship meetings with my mentor.
That's awesome. And, thinking about like, so issues pop up where you need that technical support. That's great to have. But beyond those technical skills, like what other human or relational aspects of mentorship have made the biggest difference or made the biggest impact?
Honestly, just knowing that I'm not alone. Like I'm not drowning here by myself. I can always reach out to my mentor, and he was able to connect me with a few others. And now I feel like I have a network of people that I can rely on and ask for advice. So I'm not feeling like I'm out in the middle of the ocean by myself.
Yeah. And I think sometimes when you come into the new roles, and even like if you've been in the role prior, but you're in a new ecosystem, you've moved schools, it can be difficult to figure out like how to work your way socially around those new situations because it's a different environment, it's different people. And so having someone to kind of like talk through scenarios can be really helpful because then, you can kind of say like, oh, I'm facing this issue. Someone had a problem with this. What do I say to them?
Exactly. I had issues where I was like, who the chain of command, like who, should I be addressing this with somebody else? What is the proper, and he would help me with advice for that too. So it was just all around. It was just the position itself I was getting help with and just living here and in all of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess I have a question for you. As we're kind of wrapping up here, my question would be, as someone who's relatively new to the tech director role, what advice would you give to someone who's considering making that jump to a tech director position?
I would seek the advice. Anything you have questions about, try to find answers, trying to find relationships, find people that you can lean on. That you guys can have group discussions, because a lot of us are out here, team of one, trying to figure it out. Not everybody knows everything. So sharing knowledge is always helpful.
Well, Ryan, thanks so much for being with us today. And we're going to go ahead and switch it over to one of our other mentee interviews. But it was so great sitting down with you, and congratulations on your new role. It's awesome that you're able to support our schools. And like I've said many times, IT and tech director people are the unsung heroes of schools. They make sure that all of the wires are plugged into the right places and that the Wi-Fi is not broken.
Well, thank you. And thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate the program. It's helped a lot.
Yeah, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
You guys have a good one.
You too.
Suzanne Stasha has spent more than 20 years in education, beginning her career as a 7th grade English teacher before moving into a K-4 technology integrationist role. She has served as the technology director in Taylorville for the past 2 years. Suzanne also participated in the LTC Technology Leader Mentorship Program as part of a previous cohort in 2024. We're excited to talk with her today about her experience in the program, as well as her current reality as a technology director. Suzanne, welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
Yeah, welcome, Suzanne. I guess to start off with, could you tell us a little bit about your role as a tech director and what does like the day-to-day life of a tech director look like for you?
Okay, I love that question, because what is a day to day? Like no day is the same, right? It's like whatever gets thrown on your plate, that's what you're doing for the day. But I would say the bulk of what I do, I'm super involved in the ed tech management, like the admin consoles in my district, of course, troubleshooting and problem solving. And then I'm also a part of our admin team here. So I spend a lot of time in meetings and working directly with administrators to bring programs to their buildings.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds pretty on par with, I feel like, what, previous tech directors we've talked with, and also, our personal experience with tech directors is just, there's a lot of things that get thrown at you in a day. And so every day is a little bit different. And you're having to troubleshoot some of those problems like on the fly. And so, as we were talking about in this episode, that can lead to a need for like support at times, because there are a lot of things that get thrown at you, especially as a new tech director. And like we mentioned earlier, you are actually an alumni of the LTC's Tech Leader Mentorship Program. And fun fact, Justin, who we interviewed earlier in this episode, was actually your mentor back when he was a tech director himself before he came on to the LTC. So I'd love to know just maybe some of your experiences with Justin. What was it like getting to know him as a mentor? How did you guys kind of function as like a pair? Tell me more about that.
So, I mean, you guys know Justin, he doesn't know a stranger, right? So it was very easy. The initial meeting and the initial getting to know each other was very easy. And what I found pretty instantly was he was in my corner all the time. Like he was going to support me no matter what. And I would say all the time last year, like, I'm building this plane while I'm flying it. That was my like standard go-to line because I knew nothing. And so like they would be like, oh, hey, here's E-rate. And I would be like, okay, what's that? So, he was there for a lot of things. And at the beginning, especially when I maybe didn't have enough confidence in what I was doing, he was always like, you're doing it right. Just keep going. Just keep pushing. You got it. Keep reading, keep whatever, keep asking questions. And so, to work with him in that capacity was really a fun experience.
Yeah, that's got to be something that's scary, stressful, all those types of things as you come into this role and there's all these new things. And it's like when you said E-rate, what's that? Like there's all these things that pop up that when you become a tech director that like now you have to work through. So could you tell us about a few scenarios, a few problems, a few things that popped up that you and Justin worked together and how having a mentor during that time helped you get through all that stuff?
Yeah. So, the problems went from big to small, right? So we can start with big. Big was E-rate. And yes, I knew what E-rate was, but I didn't actually know how to go through the process. And I remember him saying like, okay, well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get you in contact with Mindy Fiscus. We're going to sit in on this seminar. She's going to teach you how to fill out the form. And Mindy was a godsend. And so in that case, it was the connection he made for me there so I could get through that process. But also like, I was doing the narratives for the things that we were requesting, and like I would send them to him and be like, "Is this right? Did I include everything? Did I make myself clear?" Like I wanted to make sure that I was doing it correctly. So that was kind of a big one. Another thing that popped across my desk, which I didn't have any experience with, was like a litigation hold, right? So we had a litigation hold on something, and it was like, well, what is the process for that? Like, what are all the things that I need to be holding? Where's all the data, and what's the time frames? And so like helping me find that information and kind of work through things, because again, that's not something, even as an integrationist that you would even have your finger on. And then another big one was state testing. Like, okay, did I check all the boxes? Am I ready? Have I done my network tests? Have I done all my things? And so just kind of working through those kind of things, but without him kind of being in my corner and saying like, yes, you're doing it right, or you need to reach out to someone or ask some more questions. That was a huge help last year.
Yeah. And it's just that confidence of like knowing that at the end of the day, when you do run into those issues, there's going to be someone that you can go to talk to, but also like to bounce things off of like, hey, before I send this off, can you look at it? Can you tell me if it's correct? Especially if you're working with someone like a mentor who's done that before, they've already gone through these processes. They have experience with it. It's great to be able to just bounce that off of someone because otherwise I get it. Like I'm the same. I feel like I'm like, oh gosh, am I even doing this right? I feel like I'm taking a shot in the dark here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in a safe space too, like a space where it's okay to not know and it's okay to need more information or to need that support. And it was safe. You don't feel like you're presenting something before you're ready.
Right. So why do you think that mentorship, whether, there's lots of schools that have mentorship programs and they run their own kind of tech mentorship. There's other programs out there. And then there's obviously the LTC's program, which you went through. Why do you think that mentorship is really a crucial component for people who are in that tech director role, other IT school staff members, basically anybody who's working in that capacity in a school?
I mean, a couple of things. I mean, we kind of addressed some of it. Like you need a safe space, you need a place to bounce ideas, but also you need a place to build like connections and relationships with other people, especially people that are close by, So who are the people in your ROE that you could lean on if you have a problem? And we all know like sometimes that group think is super important. Like I have this issue and I can't figure it out. Has someone else already done it? Or can someone help me get through there? Or do you have some big, brilliant idea that I haven't thought of? I mean, just this week, I reached out to a tech director in my ROE because I was having trouble with the WIDA screener. And he sent me back like 4 screenshots, like, here's what you need to do. And I was like, I could have spent 3 hours looking all that stuff up, but he solved it for me in 15 minutes, you know? So I think mentorship is important because it gives you all those connections and those relationships, those groups to be involved in.
So I know Linda had brought this up, I think in the introduction about being a part of a previous year's cohort. So
Mhm.
as you've moved forward in your career as a tech director, has there been anything that from your mentorship experience that has helped you succeed in new ways as you continue to move forward as a tech director?
Yeah, I mean, some of the people that were also Justin's mentors or people that Justin introduced me to have have forwarded some of the things I'm doing this year. Like for instance, I'm part of the IETC Tech team for the conference, and so I get to work with Butch and Jerry, and those are all connections I made through Justin last year. And so also people I can reach out to. Like if I reach out to either one of them today, they will email me or call me back today, you know, and say, I don't know, let me help you, or I do know, or here's someone else to talk to, you know. So it's again, it's about those connections and those relationships that you build.
Yeah, I think that that's something that we've heard about as we've talked to other guests in this episode, and not just in this episode, but also talking to
Mhm.
other tech directors at other times, like at IETC and things like that. Is there's so often tech directors are a team of one in schools, or
Mhm.
maybe just a team of two, and it's really easy for someone who like me, who is a former classroom teacher, when I had questions or struggling with something, just walk across the hall. There's a
Mhm.
there's a whole hallway full of people that I can go and talk to. Whereas if you're a tech director, if you're the only person in that building, or if you're the person that somebody else is looking to for guidance, so building those connections and having those people you can reach out to, not just one mentor, but now a whole group of people, I think is a great outcome as a result of the mentorship program.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen, I know that like, for example, we have like a community space where we have a lot of like tech directors interacting in a community space, but also like at one point I had been on like a focus group for that community space. It was very interesting because there were like lots of different tech directors that we kind of interviewed and like talked through like, what do you value in a community? And it was very apparent to me just how much was happening behind the scenes of like tech directors just reaching out to each other via like Google Chat or email and just like, hey, this person's working in the district next to mine and I know them and they're going to help me solve this problem. It's like this very interconnected network of people trying to solve problems. It reminds me a little bit of like Reddit when I'm like, I have a problem. Does someone on Reddit have the answer?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So as we move forward here and just thinking about maybe in some ways I feel like tech directors end up becoming mentors for other people in the future. Like it kind of just is a natural progression of like at one point I was mentored, now I've been in the role for a few years and there's always going to be someone new in the role who needs that support.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so, if you were a mentor, I would be interested to hear what was a piece of advice that you would give to someone who's a brand new tech director who's just starting the role. What would be some things that you would kind of mentor them through?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I keep repeating myself, but like, find your tribe, like find your people, and it may not be the same people for everything. And get involved with your groups, get involved with your ROE, get involved with the LTC, go to conferences, learn as much as you can. I mean, I was also a classroom teacher first. And so I come from a place of like, we never stop learning. Like there's always something else to learn. There's always something to improve. There's always something else I can do. And I feel like to be a really effective tech director, that's where you have to be because we all know technology changes at a rate we can't keep up with. So if we're not constantly learning and evolving, I think that's my biggest piece of advice. Find your tribe and keep on learning.
Well, that's great. We really appreciate your time today and love chatting with you and look forward to everything else that comes about from continuing to grow in the tech director program as well as part of the IETC group. We love having you on and helping support the conference there too. So thank you so much for your time today.
Of course.
Well, it was great to hear from those mentees and their experiences and what they've gone through and how the mentorship program has helped them. So We'll go jump right back in with you, Justin, if that's good.
Yeah.
All right. So my question now is, we're going to kind of shift away a little bit here. But thinking about like tech directors, tech leaders in general, in your experience, what are some of the common mistakes you see new K-12 tech leaders making their first year or so on the job? And how can a structured program like the LTC's Tech Leader Mentor Program help to prevent or maybe even soften the impact of those missteps?
Yeah. So a lot of times what I see is new leaders come in and they're looking over the network design and equipment and procedures for the department. And they really scratch their head and they say, okay, we've got to do things different. And so they come in and they immediately start making changes to the network design and equipment and those procedures without taking the time to learn why it was designed and it's currently set up that way in that configuration. So I think one of the things that the LTC Tech Leader Mentor Program can provide is that mentor can be that guide of that roots the mentee and the educational environments of why their predecessor may have set up the configuration that way. And so I always tell people when I was mentoring them is to try to take some time and understand the why behind the current configuration. And once you understand that, then if you still feel strongly about making that change or the upgrade or whatever, by all means do that. But at least you'll be grounded and rooted in the reason it was done that way in the first place. And it'll probably set you up for better success moving forward.
Well, that's a good point too, because if you've got a configuration that's done a certain way and you get that background knowledge and you understand why it was done that way, maybe there's things that you can take from that. Like, oh, okay, well, this is important. It's important that we're able to do this, or it's important that these devices behave a certain way, and you can move forward with your reconfiguration in a way that helps to still make things operate in a way that people are accustomed to and used to and familiar with, but yet improve upon it and make it better and make it easier and make it more modern, whatever. So I think that's a really good point to have the understanding of why it was a certain way before and use that as information moving forward as you kind of make upgrades and make changes to the configurations.
Yeah, things change every day, and new technology comes out, new security practices get implemented, new laws get passed, and those types of things. So your configuration has got to evolve over time, but understanding that why and understanding the way that the educational system works and designing that network is paramount.
Yeah. And earlier in the episode, I talked a little bit about how I was close with my tech team in my school when I was a teacher. And, some of the solutions that they would need to come up with were kind of these red, green duct tape solutions of like, we need to just make this work. And it's not going to work unless we do it this very specific way. And we've already like run through every analysis of the network, the hardware, the this, the that, and this is the only thing we found that has worked. And so sometimes, thing was just streamlined and smooth and that the road had no pebbles or boulders in it, but it oftentimes is just not like that. It's like the road is bumpy and tech services are messy. Like setting things up is messy sometimes.
With configuration changes and updates, there's always something that gets changed. So you got to stay on top of it for sure.
I think that the success of a mentorship program really hinges on the people involved, and I'm sure that you agree, Justin. So in your view, what are those kind of non-negotiables of a truly effective mentor? And how does the LTC's program specifically identify those qualities when they're selecting mentors?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're looking for people who will be a good role model and have good attitudes and outlook on their job. They have to be a really good active listener and listen to their mentees and give thoughtful feedback to what their needs are. They also have to be a connector, someone who can share contacts and resources to the mentee. And of course, they have to be an educator who can share the knowledge and experiences that they have with their mentee. But they also have to be able to work with the mentee to be an idea generator, to provide that creative thinking and problem solving. They also need to be a cheerleader to celebrate those achievements, because I think sometimes, especially early in our career, we're just so wrapped up in getting things done that we move on from one to the next, and we don't take time to step back and look at those successes and see, the growth that we made, and that's important. And I think so that cheerleader role is huge for a mentor to have with a mentee. And then you got to be a challenger. You got to be able to work with the mentee and build that relationship so that you can push them outside of their comfort zones. And once you're outside that zone, that's really where the growth really takes place. And then you have to be that sponsor and advocate in professional settings and open those doors to other opportunities for that mentee. So I know that's a lot, and that's a lot of areas, but we look for those through an interview process, and we try to get a good understanding of the individual personally and professionally. These mentors have been in their fields, in their profession for years. They've perfected their crafts, and we're very selective on who we get.
Yeah, and I feel like we've talked with you, Justin, in this episode a lot about like the benefit to the mentee and what they get from the program, and what the benefit is to having a mentor for those first year, second year tech leaders that are out there. But then we just in the last part there talked about the mentor themselves and what qualities and characteristics they have. If there's somebody out there listening trying to decide like, hey, is mentoring worth it for me? Why should I be a mentor? What do I get? What do I gain from showing up and being there and being a mentor for someone else? You were a mentor. What do you get out of it? What's the growth part for you as a mentor, and why is it worth being a mentor in a program like this?
Yeah, well, so the first part is it's about paying it forward and helping out fellow tech leaders. And for me, I've always felt like the K-12 techs are a very tight-knit community.
Oh, yeah.
We all have different skill sets, but we pull together when we need each other, and we pull those resources, and then we can solve just about any problem if we can do that. And I don't know if that is found in a lot of other industries. So as a new ed tech leader, building that sense of community and trying to show that mentee that connection to other people is really big. And then the other thing for me was just the fulfillment and the gratitude of helping that next generation of new techs become leaders in their environment and trailblazers in the community. And knowing that somehow I played a small role in their development is really big for me. And then we do pay our mentors for their time and their experiences as well. So there is a monetary benefit to the mentors as well.
Well, Justin, I think you have made more than a little bit of difference. I think you've made a huge difference for the people that you've worked with. As someone who, I'm a person who loves to learn, but sometimes it can be very intimidating to learn things when it's like totally out of your grasp. Where do I even start? How do I even get going with this? Having someone in your corner, having someone to talk to is like the biggest help you could possibly have. And so I bet that anyone listening who's ever worked with you or, who you've mentored in the past is like, no, Justin was a huge help, not just a little help. So thank you for your time, your expertise. Thank you for paying it forward, because it really does make a difference. If people want to find you and connect with you either about becoming a mentor or just about our tech services at the LTC, or to hear more about your experience, where can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. You can search for me there, and then you can go to the LTC website. under staff and click on my picture and information, contact information, and a little bit more about me and is there. So those are probably the ways to get a hold of me.
Well, Justin, it's been a pleasure. And thank you so much for sitting down with us one-to-one.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Justin.
Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. You can find out more about the mentorship program by visiting ltcillinois.org/services/tech-mentor.
And are you a school technology coordinator or director looking to stay ahead of the curve and connect with colleagues? Well, look no further than the LTC Summit, happening in Urbana, Illinois on June 16th to 17th. To learn more and register, visit ltcillinois.org/summit.
And as always, consider following and subscribing the One-to-One podcast on your streaming platform of choice. Linda, it has been great talking to you, and I will see you next month for another episode, right?
Well, actually, Brian, you won't see me next month for another episode, because next month we have a special edition of the One-to-One podcast that has a narrative format. And I'm not going to give you too many details, but listeners, you'll definitely want to tune in. It's going to be real interesting and very unique. So I'll miss you, Brian, but I hope to see you next month for our special edition.